cold and foggy night in Oregon, Daniel Carter was driving home with his 10-year-old daughter Lily after visiting a family friend when a dense fog suddenly swallowed the road, reducing visibility to almost nothing. And within moments, the car engine began to fail before completely shutting down, leaving them stranded in complete silence with no signal, no passing vehicles, and no signs of life anywhere around them. As the fog thickened and the darkness deepened, Daniel noticed a faint light glowing in the distance, and with no other option, he took Lily's hand and slowly walked toward it, eventually revealing an old Victorian house standing alone on a small hill, its structure worn and unsettling, yet its windows faintly lit, as if something inside was waiting. As they stepped inside, the air felt heavy and damp, carrying a strange, rotting smell that made the entire place feel abandoned, yet disturbingly alive at the same time. While the wooden floors creaked beneath their steps and the walls were lined with dusty portraits that all seemed to depict the same family, except every face had been violently scratched out, except for one little girl whose untouched face looked exactly like Lily, creating a growing sense of unease that tightened around Daniel's chest. The moment they moved further inside, the main door suddenly slammed shut behind them, trapping them inside as the silence turned heavier and more suffocating, followed by the sound of slow, dragging footsteps echoing from somewhere upstairs, making the entire house feel like it was watching them. As they tried to find a way out, the layout of the house began to shift in impossible ways, turning hallways into endless loops and replacing doors with blank walls, creating a maze that felt alive and intentionally trapping them deeper inside, while an unnatural presence slowly built around them, pressing against their senses. Lily began to feel drawn toward the walls as if something was calling her from within, her movements becoming slower and more distant, as if she was being pulled by an unseen force. And when she looked into a nearby mirror, her reflection failed to follow her movements, instead holding a distorted smile that did not belong to her, sending a wave of terror through the room. Within seconds, the surface of the mirror cracked violently, and a pale, hollow-eyed figure began to emerge from within it, moving in unnatural, broken motions, its presence carrying a deep, suffocating darkness that filled the space. And before Daniel could react, an invisible force held him in place, while the entity grabbed Lily and dragged her away through the twisting hallway, her small figure disappearing into the shifting darkness as the house itself seemed to stretch and reshape around them. The deeper Daniel ran into the house, the more distorted everything became, until he reached a decayed bedroom where the air felt thick and lifeless, and in the center of the room sat a motionless figure on an old bed, its lifeless eyes open and fixed in an endless stare, while Lily stood frozen nearby, as if she no longer had control over her own body. The atmosphere suddenly turned violent as the walls began to bleed and the structure of the house trembled, reacting as if something ancient had awakened. And just as Daniel tried to reach her, the floor beneath him cracked open, pulling him into complete darkness, where all sound vanished and time itself seemed to stop. When he finally regained consciousness, he found himself lying on the side of an empty road under the morning light, surrounded by authorities who found no sign of any house, no footprints, and no evidence that such a place had ever existed, leaving only an empty stretch of land where nothing but fog had been seen the night before. Days passed without any trace of Lily, and despite endless searches, the area remained completely normal, as if the events of that night had been erased from reality itself. But when body camera footage from the responders was later reviewed, something disturbing appeared in a single frame captured within the fog, showing a faint figure standing silently behind Daniel, its eyes glowing unnaturally in the darkness, and beside it stood Lily, completely still, her expression empty and lifeless, as if she no longer belonged to the world she once knew. From that moment on, it became clear that the house had never been a place to escape the storm, but something far worse, a hidden doorway that appears only for those it chooses, taking them into a reality that exists beyond understanding, where identities are replaced, and once taken, nothing ever truly comes back the same.